Thank you for welcoming me here to JSConf here in Tokyo. My name's Shane. I'm the convener of ECMA TC39TG2. If you don't know what this is, I'm going to explain what that means to you in just a few minutes. I'm also chair of the Unicode ICFX Technical Committee, and I work at the internationalization team at Google. So, internationalization, it's a very long word. In fact, it's I followed by 18 letters followed by an N. We see it all over the place. These are two screenshots I took a couple years ago from YouTube, and you can see some examples of internationalization live. So, for example, one of my favorite things to show here is the number of upvotes. When I have my UI set to English, there's 188,000. When I have my UI set to Japanese, there's 18 man, which is like 10,000s of upvotes. It's the same number of upvotes, but that's an example of internationalization that a lot of people don't think about. The way that you express large numbers, of course, dates and relative times also changes a lot. These are more examples of internationalization operations that you find. Dates and times, that's today's date, formatted with the Japanese calendar. We've got collation rules. The way in which you order strings depends on the language. Those are some examples there. The plural forms, that's 1 cat, 2 cats, 5 cats, 10 cats in Polish. Sorry, not Polish, Ukrainian. Segmentation, over here, this is a string, and you have to figure out where the word breaks are in this string, because languages like Japanese don't use spaces between words. Lists have to have the correct inflections of the words. Language names, that's the language name of Japan in 4 different languages. So that people can choose from like a drop-down menu, for example. So these are all problems that maybe you've thought of or haven't thought of that internationalization is involved with. This is a chart from the Octoverse survey that came out last month of the number of GitHub repositories in various different languages. JavaScript and TypeScript together remain the most widely used language on GitHub relative to some other popular languages that you may have heard of. So the fact that JavaScript is so widely used means that when we build awesome internationalization into JavaScript, we raise the bar for internationalization in the rest of the industry. So that's why we're so focused on making sure that JavaScript is a good language for building multilingual apps, for building apps that are focused on the global market and global users. Cool, so let's talk about internationalization standards. So Unicode is the body behind this spec called UTS-35. UTS-35 is the Unicode Internationalization Standard. Then we have ECMA 402. That is the ECMA strip standard. ECMA is the body that standardizes JavaScript, and that's the body that does internationalization for JavaScript specifically. TC39TG2, that's the thing that I'm here for. I'm the chair of that body. We developed ECMA 402. This week, we're here for the TC39 meeting, which is where we present our proposals for advancement. Cool, so I'm just briefly going to go over what I call the I-8-N stack, just to show how the different pieces fit together. You already saw Unicode, that's at the base of the stack. CLDR is this data repository that contains translations for hundreds and hundreds of languages. It's an open source project. You can contribute your favorite languages to it and improve the data quality. We've got ICU, that's the International Components for Unicode. That's a library that implements the CLDR and Unicode standard. On top of that, we have the browser engine. That's like V8 or SpiderMonkey, for example, which implements the ECMA 402 standard. And on top of that, you have your application that can then use this. So you can see that Unicode is at the base, even if you call it through a browser engine. Okay, so I'm going to spend the rest of this talk going through new and upcoming features. First, temporal. You've probably seen this temporal slide a lot of times. Because it's like we keep saying temporal is coming, temporal is coming, temporal is coming. It's coming in Chrome 144, which is currently the dev version of Chrome. I think it gets released as the stable version in January 2026, so that's actually coming close now. These are some of the things that you can do with the temporal API. We have non-Gregorian calendars built in by default, and internationalization built in by default in the temporal API. I did a lot of work both championing the temporal proposal and getting it implemented in Chrome. I saw that there is a talk later today about temporal on the agenda, so if you want to learn more about temporal, you can go ahead and attend that talk. Duration format. This one came out about 6 months ago, but it integrates with temporal. A duration is is like years, months, and days, but not a date. It's actually a duration of time, which is a different type of format. We call those durations. These are some examples of how you can use duration format. Locale info, this is where you give a locale and you want to get properties of the locale. Maybe, for example, you want to get week info. Maybe if you're doing like a calendar layout on your screen, you want to get information on the weekdays, what's the first day of the week. You might want to get information on the layout direction. If you need to do a right to left layout, for example, for your web page, you can get that information. You can get the preferred calendar systems, maybe to let users pick multiple types of calendar systems. Collations, that's how you do text sort orders, hour cycles, time zones, and so forth. So this is an important API for how you can build user interfaces that are friendly and customizable. So that's been out now for about a year, so that's cool. Now I'm going to show you some proposals that aren't yet available, things that are in the pipeline that we're working on. The first one, which a lot of people are excited about, is Intel message format. So on the top I have a message string, and this is not just a template string. This is actually like a expressive message string that has, for example, this plural selection in it. So I can create a message format and then format with a variable number there, and that will be interpolated. It will select the correct pluralization of the message and display that to you. This is a stage 1 proposal. There's a talk later today about TC39, and they might talk about what stages mean. But stage 1 means that this is an idea that we're exploring, but it hasn't yet been committed to be added to the language yet. Energy units, this one is going to be up for stage 1 just this week. We already support formatting of measurement units, but we don't support energy units, so this adds kilowatts, watts, and kilowatt hours. Smart units, this one allows you to put in a measurement in one unit and get out the correct localized unit for the locale that you're targeting. So for example, if you're measuring person height, you have 1.8 meters, you might get out a string like 5 feet and 11 inches if you're targeting EN-US, or US English for person height. Unit protocol and amount, so this is one where we're taking a step and looking at what's the best way to express measurements of units in your program. And what we found is that very often you want to associate the unit of measurement with the number that you're formatting when you format the number, as opposed to when you create the formatter. So we're working on both a unit protocol and a amount object that you can use to associate a number with a unit of measurement. Cool, I think I've got a couple of minutes left here, but I'll be finishing up real quick here. ICU for X, this is, I showed you a little bit on one of the previous slides how ICU for X fits into the stack. ICU for X is this lightweight, portable, and secure I10N library. It's inspired by ECMA 402, but this is how you can get the stuff that you see in these slides in other programming languages too. Maybe on the back end, you want to have both back end and front end. For example, I10N. ICU for X is a great way for you to do that. So this is the call to action. One thing I want to emphasize, especially for those stage 1 proposals that I showed you throughout those last several slides, those are ideas. We think that they're exciting ideas. It's really, really helpful if you all in the audience can also sort of share how you see yourselves using these features. If these were to get into the language, how would you use them? How would it make your applications more efficient? How would it make your applications more able to target multilingual users? The more comments, more feedback we get, the faster these proposals move. That's the one thing that makes proposals move faster, is when we have a lot of community engagement and community excitement around them. For example, temporal had a great deal of that, and that's how we were able to get temporal into the language. So the more feedback that you can give, the better, in order to help move these proposals forward. You can provide feedback on our GitHub, which is right there. This is my email. Please email me. I'll be around all today also if you have any questions or want to provide feedback. And yeah, social media. Thank you so much for listening.